Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I was successful in like the first 34 days of me starting an online business. I'm going to break down exactly what that online business is, how it works, and like I said, how I was successful in the first 30 days. I've told this story before on my channel. If you guys don't know, I grossed like something over 5,000. It was like $5,200 or $5,400 or something like that. That's what I grossed the first month of this business, and I'm going to just explain how I did all of that, break it down, and I'm going to tell you my story and all of that. So there's going to be a lot of information in here, and maybe I could actually resonate with a lot of people watching this, because I think that most people watching this were probably or are probably in my shoes when I started my first month. So I think that if you just pay attention and listen to what I did and how I found my issues and fixed them, maybe you could fix your own issues as well and start grossing more with your business or profiting more with your business or whatever the case may be. So I'm actually just going to pull up my phone really quick. I didn't clear my notifications from last night. I'm not going to put it too close to the phone because you guys will see my store and I don't want you guys to see it. But if you see, I didn't clear my notifications from last night, and these are all my Shopify notifications. So there's one for $30 there, $18, another $30 notification there, a ton, just another $32 right there. I'm still scrolling down, 25. So that was all just from the short night that I had. I only slept for like 6 hours, and there's just a ton more. So I literally get paid to sleep now, and I have multiple stores running. I have 3 stores running currently. And so it's great to just wake up to multiple sales and multiple stores running all the time. I want to just show you all that it's possible and that you can get paid to sleep and drink Starbucks coffee. Anyway, so let's get into it. I won't waste any more of your time. So I love this story, and I've told it a couple times, but here we go. My first store that I ever started. If any of you guys know the store or the website, This Is Why I'm Broke, it's just a website with a bunch of stupid gag gifts, right? It's just like a bunch of things, like a 5-pound gummy bear or some dumb things that like people would get for their friends or for people that they love just to make them laugh or something like that. I knew about that store, and it always made me laugh because I would just browse through their products and I would be like, all right, I'm gonna buy this. All right, I'm gonna buy this. But I never actually bought anything, but it made me laugh. So what I did with my first Shopify store was I actually modeled that store after This Is Why I'm Broke. So like I had a product that was like, made you look like you were naked, like a towel. I had a bunch of stupid products on my first store, and I was super proud of it. But at the end of the day, it was a completely terrible idea, and that's not how Shopify works at all. But I showed it off to all my family and all my friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is so stupid. You're never gonna make any money." And I was like, "Whatever. Like it's not a big deal." But anyway, moving on. So I did that store. I realized very quickly that was not going to make any money. So I actually very quickly, before I even ran any ads, just completely took down that store and then restarted. So I found other YouTubers on YouTube that would talk about Shopify and would say, hey, you should start a niche store. So for those of you that don't know, a niche store is just more specific towards like a collection of products, like maybe watches, bracelets, maybe leggings, maybe hats, maybe like Buddha items, I don't know. But that's niche. So it's just a specific group of collection. So my second store, it was a niche store. It started with men's fashion. So I sold watches, bracelets, sunglasses. I found a couple of other people selling this same thing successfully, and all I did was I actually just modeled their stores as well. So I saw their stores and it was really attractive, and I was like, yes, I would probably buy something off this store, and I wanted my store to look similar to their store, because if I would buy something off their store, then I was pretty certain that other people that saw my store would feel the same way. So I was like, okay, I want other people to look at my store and say I would buy something off that. So that's all I did, was I modeled like 3 or 4 of my competitors in terms of products, and in terms of just like the color and the overall layout of the store. I just modeled my competitors that were doing well. So moving on from there, I started with influencers. I didn't run any Facebook ads. I didn't do any Twitter. I didn't do any Snapchat. I started with only influencers. First time I ran an influencer ad, I ran it for a bracelet. Now, most of you guys know who Rory Gannon is. He talked a lot about the lion bracelet. He blew that up. That product was super trending like a year ago, but that's one of the products I had in my store. And what I did was I actually took that lion bracelet and I went to a lion page on Instagram and I tried promoting it. And I think I got 2 sales, but I was still in the negative. I think I was selling them for like $10, and I spent like $40 on the shout out, and I only made like 2 sales. And then I went and I found another influencer, another line influencer, and I did it again, and I think I spent like $60, and I only made like 3 sales, maybe like $30 in profit, or like $32 or something, not profit, $32 gross. So at this point, this was like the first week and a half. I was like, okay, this like obviously I can get sales, but I'm not profitable and I don't know why. So I was starting to get confused, but I decided, I was like, okay, well maybe I'm just not going to sell this product. I'm just going to go and try something else. So I created a whole new ad for a watch this time. And then what I did was I went to a men's fashion influencer. Now this was completely like out of my thinking. Nobody told me to do this. I was just like, okay, if the lion bracelet on a lion page isn't working, I'm going to take a watch to like a men's fashion page and see what happens. So that's exactly what I did. I took it to the first men's fashion page that I found on Instagram. I literally typed in men's fashion in the search bar, and the first one had like 2 million followers. I think I spent $80 or something like that, or 70 something dollars, just under $100. And I promoted the watch and I made like 2 or 3 sales. So I was like, for some reason I was convinced at this point. I was like, okay, this is so weird. It's like working, but I can't make money. Like obviously the process works, but I can't make money. And I didn't realize at the time the reason that it wasn't working was because the influencers were saturated, because it was the first influencer. I mean, how many people have searched men's fashion and ran an ad on the first account that pops up? Like probably hundreds of people. So it was already saturated. I didn't understand that at the time, but before giving up, I decided I'd give it one more try, and I went to a smaller influencer, like 350K. So I went to the smaller influencer. I didn't ask any questions. I just said, hey, like how much for a 24-hour post? I think that he charged me about 50 or 60 bucks. I think it was $60. And so this is where the famous story that I tell a lot of people when I'm speaking at events, when I'm doing all these things, I tell a lot of people this story. So at the time I was working as a caregiver, making $10 an hour from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I would make $10. So 12-hour shifts for 120 bucks a day. After taxes, probably like 90 or whatever. So work was a 10-minute drive in the morning. The night before, I talked to the influencer and I scheduled that post for early the next morning. So basically, right when I woke up is right when he posted it. Like 10 minutes after I woke up is when he made the post go live. Because a lot of the people on his page were from East Coast, it was 3 hours ahead. So I woke up at 6 a.m. The post went live and a lot of people saw that at 9 a.m. And on the way to work, which was a 10-minute drive, I actually made $60. And so I was driving my Ford Fusion and I was just in the car and I just heard that sound, the ching, and then I was like, okay, what? Like that was quick. Like I made another sale. And by the time I got to work, I had already made like $60. And I think that was like 4 or 5 sales. A couple people were buying more than one product. And while I was talking to the people there, right before I was starting my shift, I made like another one, and then I made another one. And so basically throughout the entire day, I was making sales, and man, oh man, I cannot tell you how happy I was. So by the end of the day, by the time I stopped working by 6 p.m., I had made, like I said, $100 from caregiving, and then my Shopify store actually for the first time grossed $400 in one day. So that completely blew my mind. For the first time, I was profitable because of that day. Like I caught up with all the other bad days I have, and like I think maybe I broke even or something at that point. I was just barely profitable, but I immediately caught up all my stuff, and I was just either broken even or barely profitable. I don't remember, but throughout that entire day, I was writing down every single order, what they ordered, what time they ordered it, and I, for the influencer, I would write the influencer at the very top of my page. I literally had a notebook, and the notebook is filled with pages now. Sorry. I had a notebook, and it was filled with pages of different influencers and different ads and different copies and different offers, and I wish I could find the notebook. I can't find it, and if I do find it one day, I'll show you guys, and I'll make a YouTube video about it. Moving on. So I started to post on him every single day. I bought like 5 shout-outs in advance because he would give me a deal if I bought 5, and that would just make the advertisements cheaper, which would make me more money. It would just make my margins bigger. So I bought 5 more shoutouts, and then I kept on going, and I kept on going. And that influencer started to get a little bit less every single day, because that's what happens if you promote the same offer and the same picture and the same product daily, is that people start to get annoyed. And I didn't know that at the time, but the way you should be doing it is you should be promoting like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, different pictures, different offers, different products, just so that you don't saturate or annoy all of the followers that are following that influencer. So moving on. I decided to start looking for other influencers, and I found one with 800,000 followers, and he was charging $100 for 24 hours, and I immediately said no. And then I waited a couple days, and I, scheduled another post with that old one, and it didn't do as well. So I came back to this guy and I said, all right, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Like I was like, let's do it for $80 for 24 hours, see what happens. So that's what we did. I did it for $80, 24-hour post, and I think that day I made like $780 off that influencer. So that was insane. I remember I was actually on my way to play volleyball with my brother-in-law and my 2 friends in the back, and I was literally just getting sales, and they were all so confused, and I was like, I was like, dude, $780. And it was like 7 p.m. and I was on my way to play volleyball. But anyway, at that point, I realized how to isolate variables. And that's a very important thing that I preach a lot that most people don't talk about. But I was able to figure out that the influencers was one of the most important things. And the reason I was able to find good influencers is because I talked to them and I would say, how long have you been advertising for? And if they said not very long at all, I knew that they would not be saturated and I could make more money off them. So that is something that I really stress. So go find influencers that haven't been advertising forever, because your chances to be profitable are a lot higher. And then I found very shortly that the product I promoted on that big influencer with 800,000 followers, that specific watch, was just a very good product. So I know I had a good influencer, I know I had a good product, a good offer, and basically just doing those things, building up those influencers and having a notebook with all my successful influencers and all my unsuccessful influencers, it was very easy for me to isolate all the variables that are bad and good and take the good ones and make them work. So when I eventually moved over to Facebook and Twitter, I already had a good product, I already had a good offer, I knew my website was good, and it was basically easier. It was like 50% easier for me to go to Facebook and work because I wasn't completely blind. You know, say for example you started with Facebook and you have no knowledge at all, it's going to be harder because you don't know if you have a good product and you don't know if you have a good offer. But the way I started enabled me to go into Facebook not 100% blind, which made it easier for me on Facebook as well. So I've told that story multiple times, and like I just kept on going with that influencer. And I think the first month, like I said, I grossed $5,000. And overall, like this, I just really love telling the story because it's super fun, like it's super motivating, and I like seeing people's reactions to it. I remember on Black Friday, I ran the same influencer with the same product, and all I did was change it to Black Friday sale. And then I gave like a higher percentage off, and then that day I grossed like $1,300 on that first store that I had. So it didn't take me more than 30 days to start seeing some pretty cool results. And I think that the reason was because I was so dedicated and so like, I'm going to make this work no matter what. I literally just wrote down every single minute detail, and I planned everything, and I mapped out everything, and I just had like an entire drawing board in this notebook of what went well and what went wrong and how to focus on the good things. And it was just crazy. It was just a really crazy experience. But I would say that the reason I was successful and how I became successful in the first 30 days is because I tested, because I tried so many different things, and everything that I tried, I wrote down. And I was so dedicated to get results and to see results that I didn't care about anything else. I was just like, I'm going to test absolutely everything. I tested like 10 different products, like 10 different ad pictures. I eventually ordered those products and took my own pictures, and I tested those too, and it worked really well. Different copies, different influencers. I tested everything and I wrote everything down. And I think that's what enabled me to be successful. And I think that most people don't do that. I think most people don't put in the effort to write absolutely everything down. I mean, I had an entire book basically with just dates and decimals and numbers and money and profit and gross and how much I made. I literally had like an entire book. It was like a notebook filled with stuff. And I just don't think that most people will go through the extra step or take the extra step to do that and to put in that much effort. So if I were to say that one thing that made me successful in 30 days, I would just say that the desire to have it, I will do anything, I will test anything, I didn't care, I just wanted to get results, was more than anything. And then I would say another thing was just writing everything down, not making the same mistake twice. Anybody that does the same thing twice and expects a different outcome is insane, according to Albert Einstein. So I didn't do the same thing twice. I was always trying new things, and I think that's what enabled me to do well my very first month. So I'm going to cut it at that, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Just recording this video, I made another Shopify sale from this store, and it was $48. So just like that, and it's even going slow right now. It's been 15 minutes. I only had one, but I just want to show you guys that it's possible. I just want you guys to be aware, especially that Black Friday is coming up right now, and I think that it's the perfect time to get into it because it's Q4, and if you're ever going to learn, it's going to be easier now than ever until next Q4. But other than that, guys, I'm going to end the video there. If you guys want, go ahead and check the description for some juicy stuff in there. There's a couple of links I added that's new. There's a couple of PDFs that you guys can download for free, and then some other links to some other funnels that you guys may be interested in. So make sure you guys go check that video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, because that's how I know that you like the content. I judge my video by the amount of likes and dislikes it gets. So if you like it, like the video, and if you don't, then subscribe to me. Make sure you subscribe anyway. It's free. It's literally free, and I give away free value that could help you make money, so I don't see why you wouldn't subscribe. So make sure you click those 2 buttons, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you guys in like 3 days.